Hey kids, you know what time it is? It's birthday time!
It's your birthday, and we want you to have fun. It's your birthday. I'm gonna FaceTime your face!
This is the crazy story how an unknown actor and a luckless director teamed up with Nicolas Cage to create 2021's first cult movie.
Fastpass facts.
Chapter 1: The La La Land Dreamer and the Silent Hero. In this movie, Nick Cage has no lines. He doesn't speak a word. And screenwriter G.O. Parsons has a very fascinating story of how this came to be. Prior to working on this movie, Parsons was just acting and writing in a bunch of plays that started out like in La La Land, where there were hardly any people in the audience, and even the ones that were present were on their phones the whole time. Then he had the idea to turn the plays into events where people could bring their friends and have some drinks. This went on for a while, before a wake-up call came in the form of a person who told Parsons that the stuff he was doing was fantastic, but if he wanted his career to go anywhere, he should put his talents to good use and make a movie, because the plays he was doing were relevant only till the end. This conversation with a random man in a parking lot is how the movie began, tells Parsons. Now Parsons knew that he was going to make a movie, but there was the issue of money, because he was probably going to be the only one doing it. So he decided to keep it low budget, probably shoot the entire movie in a single location. If he was the only one going to be doing everything, he thought it would be wise to have no lines at all. Now that this was decided, the location needed to be thought of. Parsons grew up on the border of California and Nevada, where there was this place called Boomtown, outside of Reno. People would drop their kids at Boomtown and go on to gamble. And Boomtown had these huge animatronics. It was decided the character in the movie would be someone who goes to clean a place like Boomtown and get attacked by all the sentient animatronics. But what the animatronics wouldn't know was that they had messed with the wrong person. This silent hero would then mop the floor with them. This is how the La La Land Dreamer came up with the silent hero. Parsons then teamed up with the director Kevin Lewis. They have the same vision, and they started working on it together. The next step was getting Nick Cage to act in the movie. Chapter 2: Getting the Janitor. Parsons gave the script to a casting director called Venus Kanani. It was Venus who told Parsons that if he could get somebody of stature to act in it, it could be a real movie. His big break. She was the one who stuck her neck out for him, knocking on Nicolas Cage's door and pitching it to his manager, Mike Nillen. Mike finished reading the script on a Friday morning. He handed it over to Nick on Friday evening. It was 48 hours before Nick made a decision. Parsons says that he spent the whole 48 hours staring at pink walls. Talk about stress. On Monday morning, Parsons got a call. He picked up the phone, his hands shaking, only to hear the words, "Nick wants to make the movie." Miraculously, Nick was into reptiles and amphibians and dinosaurs. This was one of the main reasons he was excited about the movie. He even started making suggestions about replacing normal mammals with more frightening animals, such as alligators. Chapter 3: The infamous line. Nick loved the fact that he had no dialogue. It was one of the things that drew him to it. Parsons revealed that in the original script, there was going to be one dialogue at the end, when Nick has a standoff with Willy. In this scene, they are staring at each other, and he says, "Come at me, bro." However, Lewis vetoed this. He thought that if there was going to be only one line, it should be iconic. A line that would stay in the minds of viewers long after they have finished watching. A line that becomes something of a catchphrase. Something like the iconic line,
Groovy.
by Bruce Campbell in The Evil Dead. Ultimately, Nick and Lewis decided to go with no lines. Chapter 4: Nick to the rescue. Now that Parsons knew he was not the only one going to be doing everything in the movie, the next step was to find some financing. This consisted mainly of Nick Cage defending the script to any potential producers when the team took the script out to get financing for it. Most of them gave similar reactions of, "This is unbelievable. Nobody would believe this would ever happen. This script would never work. Why is he cleaning so nonchalantly? Why is he not going and hiding? No one would ever watch this thing." Nick would then defend the script, saying this is exactly the kind of movie that needs to be made. What these people didn't know was that this was exactly the point of it. Parsons explicitly mentioned that, while this is a horror movie, they also wanted to include elements of humor in it. "You can't take it seriously," he said. "You have to be able to mock it and say, 'This thing just attacked him, and now he is cleaning a stove? What is going on?'" Nick Cage being silent the whole time also fit perfectly to the horror comedy atmosphere they were trying to create. Well, if the viewer stats are any indication, Nick Cage was absolutely right. This was exactly the kind of movie that needed to be made. In the words of Lewis, "All the horror fans are digging it. So many amazing reviews and watch parties. People are watching it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And with an 81% viewership on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has certainly proved to be a success." Chapter 5. One Crazy Month. After a lot of uncertainty, on October 31st, the movie was finally greenlit. The fact that it was Halloween was merely a coincidence, or perhaps it was the universe's way of agreeing with Nick Cage's words. But now, a different set of problems revealed themselves. Nick had only 1 month where he could work on this movie, from February until March of 2020. If the movie was not shot during that 1 month, it was never going to happen. The team was determined. Everyone worked during the holidays to set everything up, to make sure everything was ready by February. It was full hands on deck. In 3 months' time, they somehow managed to find the set, find a crew, storyboard the entire movie, and even built the animatronics. Quite an impressive feat. If even a tiny thing had gone wrong, causing a delay of even a few days, the consequences would have been absolutely devastating. The movie might never have gotten made. The movie was shot at the beginning of the year in Atlanta. Lewis claimed that the shot list was 70 pages long. In his own words, it was not one of the movies where you can show up and ask, "What are we feeling today, guys?" It was one of those movies where everything was on the shot list and the crew were scrambling to get everything done and stick to the agenda of the day. Since Nick, the protagonist, had no lines, it was on Lewis to make the visuals as interesting and entertaining as possible. He admitted that even though this was a challenge, it was a very fun challenge. Chapter 6. The Psychopathic Animatronic Misfits. There were 8 animatronics in total. Willy and his gang. Lewis liked to fondly call them the psychopathic animatronic misfits. There was Willy the Weasel, Siren Sarah, Ozzy the Ostrich, Artie the Alligator, Cammy the Chameleon, and Gus the Gorilla. The alliteration of the names was certainly a clever touch. All the costumes were built by Kevin Hall, who did a wonderful job. If you have seen the movie, you know how scary the animatronics actually are, with their big eyes bulging out of their head, their sheer size, and the fact that they can move and even talk. Out of the 8 animatronics, only one of them was a puppet, Ozzy the Ostrich. This animatronic was manipulated by a couple of puppeteers in green smocks. There's one particular scene in which Nick pokes Ozzy, and Ozzy just shakes his head and tells him, "I'm gonna feast on your face." The added background sounds and atmosphere make it an absolutely terrifying scene. The rest of the animatronics were just stunt people in suits. Throughout the shooting of the movie, Nick proved to be a wonderful team player and worked tirelessly. According to Lewis, he did not hang out in his trailer, instead choosing to hang out at the set, right by the camera. He was very involved with everything. He observed everything, knew what had to be done, and went in and did it. At one point, Lewis told Nick that he only had time to do 2 takes, maybe 3. To which Nick replied, "Well, Kevin, I like to do it in 1. It was this level of dedication that made shooting the movie in 1 month possible. Chapter 7. The Pinball Hero. Towards the end of the movie, Nick does a little dance while playing the pinball. Parsons revealed that the dance was completely Nick's doing. He was the one that added it. Lewis further added that the scene was fantastic. They had 3 cameras set up. So the idea was to showcase that Nick playing pinball was equal to him leveling up in a video game. It was a victory dance of sorts. The team let the cameras roll while shooting this scene, and Nick did the rest of it himself. Lewis says that it was incredible. The crew was applauding him by the end. He called Nick that night and said, "Seeing your work today, that is why I make movies." It seems like the moment was both an awe-inspiring as well as an emotional one for the team, especially Lewis. Chapter 8. Thumbs up. The reaction that the movie received has been over the moon. Parsons and Lewis admitted that they never expected that the movie would be so well received. The response was almost cultish. After watching Nick Cage battling these bloodthirsty animatronics, people want to be a part of it. They want to experience the same thing. Parsons said that if somebody is nice enough to say things about the movie or give it good reviews, then he officially adds them to the staff. His reasoning was that when the creator of the movie you're appreciating hits you up on the internet and says, "Hey, you gotta clock in for work because you are the janitor," it adds that extra level, including the fans, making them feel like a part of the inner circle. It would seem that Nick Cage battling demonically possessed animatronics was just the thing everyone needed. Chapter 9. The Sequel and the Future. A sequel of Willy's Wonderland is in talks, which is great news for everyone who loved the movie. Lewis announced that he was down for a sequel and that he was very excited. He said that he would love to see more adventures with the janitor. In fact, he has already speculated on more than a few ideas for the sequel. Perhaps the location would be different in the next movie, such as an amusement park, or several, or maybe a circus. One of his great visions included a patched-up version of Willy who was coming back to take revenge on the janitor after being defeated the last time. Or maybe they could do a John Carpenter assault on Precinct 13 where the janitor gets caught in jail and the animatronics are all coming to attack me. A final scene ensues, right inside the jail. Or it could even be a Mad Max vibe where Nick is in the car driving somewhere with a lot of homemade weapons. Parsons, however, was a little bit less excited than Nick because the sequel would be a giant boulder that would fall on him. He's the one who would have to write a script interesting enough to translate on the big screen, all the while making sure it would keep viewers on the edge of their seats. After all, there are only so many ways you can tell the same joke twice. He needs to figure out just how the sequel would be different. Is the janitor going to take on someone new? A new monster? If so, what would happen to the animatronics that were the star of the show last time? Obviously, they need to come back for the second part. Parsons said that his wife pitched an idea to him. Willy teaming up with the janitor in an unexpected turn of events, and both of them fighting a new foe together. There are so many details that need to be figured out, but Parsons has given us hope by saying that he has the beginnings of an idea. He also said that at this stage, it is just an idea, but we have no doubt that he will write a compelling script. The makers of Willy's Wonderland were really in luck, finishing just in the nick of time before the pandemic hit. Just 2 weeks after they wrapped the movie, it became known just how bad the pandemic was, and the lockdown was announced. Well, the universe must have really wanted this movie to be made, and we're not complaining. We do hope that there is a sequel, and that it is equally as exciting as this one.
Please deposit 5 coins.